Jamie.
Hi Neil.
Who are you?
Well, my name is Jamie. My company is Soteria Planning, and what we do is we specialise in all things estate planning. So that could be making sure your will's in place, making sure you've got lasting power of attorney sorted out, making sure you understand if there is an inheritance tax liability on your estate, all the things that people don't tend to think about.
The fun conversations is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when you're buying a property, it's the last thing on your list of things to do, isn't it?
Evidently.
So Neil, tell me a little bit more about you. Who are you?
I am Neil. I'm one of the partner agents for Avocado Property. Been an estate agent for, 15 years now.
Blimey.
I know. But yeah, been an estate agent and in the industry for a long time, covering South Reading, Shinfield, Lower Ellion, that sort of area with my business partner Dan. Meet new buyers and sellers on a regular basis, different conversations on a regular basis, and I think this chat today will be awesome to open it up to the public.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I wanted to touch on with you today is obviously you help people buy their dream home. You help first-time buyers get on the ladder. You help people that potentially are going through a breakup, sell their house, buy another property. All of those things are key moments in people's lives. Now, for me, I'm on a mission to make people that are key people of influence, someone like yourself, who's helping that first-time buyer purchase a property. How can we influence the first-time buyer to ensure that they know the importance of having a will in place?
Quite simply, mate, I think it's education, like a lot of things. Since doing this within the Avocado business model, we have a lot of closer conversations with people, obviously right the way through. And a lot of it is just education. They don't really know of it. Personally, I wasn't too clued up on it until I met you and spoke to you about wills and planning. So for me, it was a personal education, which obviously has now been implemented into my workload as well. But for an estate agent, a lot of the time you're just focused on listing, selling. But there is a hell of a lot more that goes on around it that's super important to people. Yeah. Especially will writing and planning.
I think, and I know for a fact that mortgage advisors suffer with this as well, because what they will tend to do is they'll obviously help the clients get a mortgage offer, and then once the mortgage offer is offered, they'll talk to the client about maybe relevant protection policies that are required, and at that point the client's got the mortgage and they're out of there. And we almost need, between everybody, the mortgage advisor, the person that can help with estate planning, the person who's selling the property, purchasing the property, there almost needs to be like a checklist.
Yeah, like a blueprint checklist.
Have you done this?
Well, this is the thing. Dan and I preach, and we say it on any of our podcasts, any of the stuff that we educate or speak to people about, it's all about being prepared. Yeah. And let's face it, the will writing thing and planning, it's the last thing that people will think about, but it's so important.
Well, I mean, look at the case that you introduced me to once upon a time. It was a guy who was buying a property. He was buying the property in his sole name.
Yep. Girlfriend moving in.
The girlfriend was moving in, but she wasn't on the property. Obviously, they weren't married. And I think you said to him something along the lines of, well, what happens if something happens to you? And it was just something that he hadn't thought about. And if they were married and they were buying a property in the same situation where it's solely in his name, things would be different, potentially. And it just shows the importance of education, because what we're here to do is educate. We're not here to sell, we're here to educate. And if we educate and the client opts to not take our advice, no problem at all. Yeah. But we've educated.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Like I said a moment ago, there's so many people that get excited about the house buying process, and that checklist is right, mortgage done, solicitors done. Those are the things that get them the house. But what happens if something goes wrong? And being honest, it's probably not something that a lot of people think about, because it's not, you don't have that on your mind. I mean, I hear the conversations that you have with clients. I'm like, gee, I wouldn't be thinking about that. But what if something does happen? It's preparation.
It's all relevant, isn't it? Because you could deal with somebody who is a single person, they're not in a relationship, and they're buying their first property, and I educate them around, okay, well, if something happened to you and this property, in the event of your passing, the property would go to your parents in this case. And they turn around and say, okay, that's fine. Okay, no problem at all. Well, what about people that you help? You help maybe step up from their first time property, which might have been a 2-bedroom flat, and they're now buying a 3-bedroom house because they've had a child.
Yeah.
Who is educating that family around, Mr. and Mrs., you've now had a child, you need to make sure your will's sorted out?
Yeah. I think when you look at it, there's so many life changes and big, either expected, planned or unexpected life changes that at that point, if I'm not wrong, that's where they should be reaching out and changing things or speaking to someone like yourself to make sure that whatever has changed within their life is protected, i.e. who it goes to or where it goes to.
People often talk about this term valid will. Now, there's not many things that will make a will invalid. Things like marriage and obviously deliberately destroying a will make it invalid. But for me, the actual term that people need to pay attention to is relevance. There's not any point in having a will in place if it's not relevant. If you've got a will in place that leaves everything to your ex-partner, you were never married, but leaves everything to your ex-partner, is that okay for you?
Exactly. You'll be like, hold on a second, I'll be cramming back out the dead.
Blimey, I just couldn't imagine. But there are some people that don't think about that kind of stuff.
Well, I know I've jested with you before on a personal level of me. I live on my own with my dog. What happens? What happens
who
to
looks
my
after
house?
the dog?
Yeah, because that was what I said. I want my dog in my will. I want my dog to go to someone that I trust.
Who gets the hot tub?
It's these little things. But I think it is. Everyone's lives are different, but you don't think about what happens if you're not there. So I think quite simply from our side of things, it's educating. But I think the business to business, as in us as estate agents, you guys as will writing and planning, I think there's so much more to be had because we don't think about it as an estate agent. It's a huge thing. Someone's buying a £500,000 house. Are you protected? What happens if, like your conversations, what happens if you both die in a car crash or something happens to you both instantly? What happens to that property? What happens to your investment? Where are your family left? Where are your spouses left? So yeah, I definitely think it's, from my point of view, especially in the last few years, as I said, since I've been educated, I can now have those conversations with people. Yeah, and looking at your strapline around looking to make the home moving process easier and better for Joe Public, I'm on a similar mission with the will writing industry, the estate planning services, because I would say if you were to look at our 200 plus Google reviews, the word easy comes out a lot. Why does it need to be hard? Yeah. Of course, nobody likes talking or thinking about their own mortality, but I think that's exactly why does it need to be hard? Yeah, it doesn't. And I think it's like anything. If you go to the right professional, if I need something done and I can't do it, I will go to a professional that knows what they're doing and get them to do it. So it's the same with you guys. Open the conversation, talk to you guys about what you need done, the will writing, the planning, and you'll educate them at that point. Well, thank you for your time today, Neil. Thank you for the coffee, Jamie. To catch up and listen, continue the great work that you and Dan and all the other Avocado partners are doing. Appreciate it, mate.